Hey, welcome guys. Today we are painting not one, but two H39s. This is the brand new kit, at least at the time of this recording, from Tamiya. And what happened was I had ordered one online, but a month or two before I'd asked my local hobby shop, when it was coming in, and he had a better memory than me, so I ended up with two kits. So I thought it would be a great idea to do a French camouflage as well as a German camouflage. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this, built two kits really at once, painted them at once, and because I am so excited about this model kit and think it's such a great kit, and kind of praised how it's really two-in-one, I thought the best way to show it would be to do them side by side. So without further ado, let's flip it over the bench and let's paint up both these kits. All right, so starting off, you'll see there is a little bit of surfacer putty here. This isn't a problem with the kit. This is more just me using ammo surfacer putty to kind of clean up a little bit, and I use it sometimes to avoid sanding because it has a self-leveling capability. There was a small seam on the turret that I thought was going to be more of a pain to sand, so this kind of just blends it into the turret and erases the seam line. And then I did use it on the German canopy as well. Not canopy, the turret, the like commander hatch, just because I thought the gap was a tiny bit bigger than the rest of the gaps in the tank. But anyways, it's time to prime. We are using Tamiya's surface primer for a multitude of reasons. One, it's quick and easy. It's very self-leveling and looks great when you spray it on. And then also we have, on this kit at least, we have the metal chain. So this primer works really, really well on like metal, plastic, resin, really everything. So that has really pretty much become my go-to in terms of priming. I still like to do black, NATO black kind of primers as well, but this one's just so easy, and the can lasts for multiple models. So spending $10 on it, it's still expensive, but it becomes a little bit more okay, and we're doing two at once, so it was the easy way out, I guess. Anyways, moving on to painting the German base first. We're going to use Tamiya's dark yellow with some Tamiya paint retarder. If you don't use Tamiya paint retarder, I would highly suggest looking into it. It is very difficult to find in stock, probably because it's a great product. Mine costs, the one I have now costs like $15 from Australia, which is a lot. It's usually about $5. I would say personally, I think it's worth $15. It's going to extend your drying time. You only need literally a few drops from a cocktail stick in an airbrush cup amount. Stir that around, makes the paint much more self-leveling. It will revolutionize. It won't make Tamiya brush painting amazing, but it'll revolutionize Tamiya brush painting because I think the floor is pretty low. Tamiya paints don't brush paint all that well. The paint retarder makes them capable of brush painting, we'll say, like very capable. But I'm spraying at around 25 psi. Here we'll start the French camo, the French base coat in olive green. Same thing. I kind of treat Tamiya paints, at least when I'm doing a base coat, like they are a spray paint. I don't go super high. Like I'm not going to go up to 30. That's too much. But somewhere in the middle. My compressor doesn't tell me what I'm spraying at. I just kind of do it by feel. I have a plus and minus arrow, and I kind of just fit it in the middle somewhere. These paints are super forgiving, and I don't know if you've seen these tanks in person. I haven't seen an H39 personally, but I've seen many other tanks. They're not painted all that well. Granted, they are 70, 80 years old, some of them, but it doesn't, some of these lacquer paint jobs, and maybe this is jealousy because I don't use lacquer paints, because those paint jobs look amazing when people use a really nice lacquer paint. out of an airbrush at a really low, and they do a lot of coats. But I don't know. We're going to spray pretty high here and pretty much just do one big coat. And you'll see we still have all that subtle, you can still see all that subtle cast texture there as we spray over it, even when the paint's wet. It's not going to cover any of that up. Obviously, don't, hang around in any area too much. We don't want any overspray, but you're really going to save all that detail. It's not going to look, in my opinion, too much better if you do a bunch of thin coats. There's a reason I kind of do one heavy coat, and I did all the thin coats of Tamiya paint, and I didn't find it necessarily be worth it. But anyways, we are moving on to the Camouflage for the French tank, which is going to be in their whole red. I am going to tone down the PSI, let's call it maybe like 22, 23 here, just to get a little bit finer of a line. I do not have a very detailed airbrush. This is like the HG spray. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it is just a standard airbrush. I think it goes down to 0.3, they say, but it doesn't spray all that well at that millimeter, if I'm being honest. This is more of a, maybe like 0.4, 0.5, and it sprays really, really well, but getting the details can be a little bit difficult. So the method that I have come up with, and that has worked really, really well on the past couple kits, has been do the base coat, thin the camouflage color, a little bit more than you normally would, spray it a little bit lower, and then the third step is you come back with, so this is like the red overspray. I haven't fixed it yet. The next step, the third step, is going to be coming in with the base coat again and thinning it even more than the camouflage color, spraying at probably about 20 psi, so even lower, and then cleaning up all of those edges, because in that case, the red overspray over the green looks bad. Green overspray over the red doesn't look so bad, at least in my opinion. Then we're going to do the German tank, and we're going to come in with, this is NATO green. So I do follow the dark yellow, red, brown pattern that Tamiya suggests. I think on this kit, they suggested red, brown 2, dark yellow 2. I don't have all of those, so I just use what I have, but I do not like the dark green on the German camouflage anymore. It's too dark after the clear coat, in my opinion. So NATO green has been my go-to. It's still pretty dark, as you can see, and it's going to get a little bit darker with the clear coat. I just find it to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So if you haven't tried that yet, I would suggest trying it if you have that color lying around. I do think it looks very, very good. Now, I'm trying to follow the kind of paint guide instructions, painting instructions, whatever you want to call them, because painting 2 tanks at once, I didn't really look at a ton of reference photos and things like that, do any research. I am solely depending on, Tamiya's research here, just so that I can do 2 at once. But it's pretty easy to follow, to be honest. It's not really a difficult camouflage. They are thin lines and things, but nothing that, this is at step 3 I was talking about before, where we're just going to come back with the base coat, extra thinned, and clean up those edges. And it makes it look a lot better than if you don't do that step. Then we are going to paint the tracks for each tank in different colors. I am going to do the French tank here. This is in the dark iron color from Tamiya. Reason we're going to do 2 different colors is I want to weather and express 2 different things here. The French tank is going to be newer, right? If France is still using this tank, the war probably hasn't started yet, and if it has, it hasn't been going on very long, unfortunately. And if the Germans are using this tank, it's a captured tank. It's already, multiple years old. So we are going to do this one in this dark tracks color from Ammo by MiG. And when we weather these tanks, the French tank obviously will get less weathering, and The German tank, we're going to do a little bit more weathering on. I am going to also paint the chain here, tow cable, I guess it's not a cable, tow chain in the dark tracks color as well. I think it will just look aesthetically pleasing to have, you know, the tow chain in a different color and just bring a little bit more color into the kit. Then this was a little bit difficult. I'm painting the exhaust in, it's like 2 parts red brown, 1 part metallic gray that Tamiya suggests. And this is a new color that they've been suggesting on their kits for exhausts. And I think it looks really, really good. So I would highly, you know, there's other methods to painting exhausts, but I really, really do like this. It doesn't show quite so much right now as I'm painting it, but it does have this, you know, kind of rusty, shiny look to it that I think just looks great. Next up, we're going to paint the tools, and I'm going to start painting them on the sprue. We're using AK's paint markers here, and I'm going to start out in the brown color here, and then I'm going to go to the wood color that I still am not in love with, we'll say. It is a little bit more yellow, but I was trying maybe the dark brown under it, maybe to make it a little bit less yellow, a little bit darker. I don't know how well that worked. We'll see in the end what we can do with it. And then, of course, using the metallic colors for like the shovel and pickaxe and things. Then once we have the exhaust all dried, we are going to put the cover on. And I'm going to put the cover on both. I want to make the German exhaust look more rusted, which that's going to be a good trick. It is a little bit difficult to reach, but I was able to reach all the parts of it with a brush. So we're just going to do our best when it comes time to do that. Next up, we have our road wheels, or return rollers here, and there aren't a lot of surfaces that we have to paint rubber, but they are very, very small, and the rim is very, very delicate. So there is just enough of a rim to get a nice, clean paint job around there, but you definitely have to take your time on that. It is easy to overpaint on that. And then as you see there, when I fit it on the tracks, I had a little bit of paint scrape off. So we'll just go back and touch that up with a brush. No big deal. And here you can see I'm touching up the tracks. After I fitted the tracks on, I have noticed this Ammo by MIG dark track color does like to come off. For whatever reason, it chips very easily, but I do really like the color, and as I've said many times in this channel, I bought it, so I'm going to use it until it's gone. So did have to do some touch up there. Then it is time we've finished the tools. We've taken them off the sprue, sanded them, you know, everything like that, repainted. And we're going to use Ammo by MIG's, their Ultra Glue here, which this is really for like photo etch and clear parts. But I do really like it for this instance where Tamiya Extra Thin, if you are really careful, can be used on clear parts, on a painted kit. If you're not careful, it will ruin your paint job, where this Ammo by MIG Ultra Glue will dry clear, obviously. It's basically just like a fancy Elmer's glue, I guess, an overpriced Elmer's glue. But it works really, really well. And it cleans up with water on your brushes, so it's super easy to use. And it dries very well. Enough where already, you know, that pickaxe is sticking on the vehicle. I don't have to worry about it falling off even, you know, 10 seconds later. So it is really, really good, and it's good to use. Once you have that paint job you don't want to mess up, I would highly suggest getting that product. And someone in comments a couple videos ago did say they released like a matte version. So if you are using it and you weren't going to paint over it, that's probably even a better option. The one I have, I wouldn't call it glossy, but it's like maybe semi-gloss. So a matte version would be very nice. Then I paint up the tool clamps just based on the color. I saved that for last because I didn't know where the camo was going to be. But this way we can do, as you see, green and red, yellow and green, as it kind of applies to the camo that is in the area of that tool. Next up, we're going to do some clear coating, and this is Tamiya's TS13. This is their gloss clear coat, and we're going to get these ready for decals. So the decals on this kit, for the French version at least, are pretty interesting. On one side here, we're going to get the 6 and 4 are going to be separate numbers. They are, or separate decals. And we're going to have to align those, just with our eye. The 4 does line up with that little hole there. This side, the left side, the 6 and 4 are together. They're one decal. So a little bit easier to obviously get those aligned, but you do have some carrier film. You could easily cut the carrier film in half, which I think a lot of people probably will do. So just keep that in mind if you are going to build this kit. And then we have a nice little set of numbers and a little French flag here to go on the back and the front. But it's really, really nice. This kit does not have a lot of decals. There's 4 on the French kit. Well, I guess 5 technically, because the 6 and 4 are different. And then there are only 2 on the German kit. So we have 2 iron crosses here, and that is going to be it. So very, very simple. I think it's just enough decal to add that kind of realistic look. I feel like model kits never look finished until they have decals. They never look real. But it's not too many, and they're in, I think, pretty good places. We are going to use some mark fit here to kind of blend them into the vehicle. Try to erase some of that, kind of glossy look and just let them set into the creases and things, but not too many, and especially on the German kit here, you have practically none. If you are using mark fit, I do recommend letting it set until it's completely dry and then some before you do another coat. You'll find it doesn't do anything until it's dry, it seems. It might start to wrinkle the paper, but once it's dry is when it really starts to kind of, you think it's dry, but it's probably wet underneath. That's really when it starts to do its magic. Then we're going to clear coat, as you see here in TS80, which is Tamiya's matte clear coat, and we're going to get rid of some of that shine. And we're going to seal those decals in, and we are done with our painting. So if you've made it this far, I would please ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. The next video, like I hinted at before, we're going to be doing some weathering on both of these kits. The French kit will definitely be getting less weathering. I've always kind of aspired to do, like when Tamiya takes a picture on their website and it's just a really clean looking model, it's weathered a little bit. I do love that look, and I always aspire to do that, and then I get carried away. So we'll see, but that's the plan, is the French tank is going to hopefully look new. The German tank, I want to look like it's a captured German tank that's been in service for, years, and we already have the dark tracks there painted up, which I know tracks don't really rust when they're on a vehicle, but sometimes you got to make things look cool. So anyways, very, very fun kits. Obviously, we talked about the build. I thought they were perfect. In terms of painting, they are small, which I kind of like. You use, it feels like a quarter of the amount of paint when you paint up a kit this small, compared to like the Tacom Tiger. Felt like I had to use like a whole jar of paint almost. That's obviously an exaggeration, but the French camo, very, very easy to do. You could easily do these with a brush. The German camo, same thing. You could do it with a brush. I think the the whole red and the olive green might lend itself better to that. But we have just the right amount of accessories here. There will be some good surfaces to weather, but there's not a ton of tiny parts that you have to paint on this kit. So I think the hardest part of painting this is probably the I'm losing the name for it, but the piece on the back there. It's a trench something or other. But that's hard to get paint inside of there. With the airbrush, you just have to hit it from every possible angle, hold the tank upside down, that sort of thing. But I think these look great, and I think this is a really good showcase of two different models in one kit. Obviously, they look very, very similar. You know, there aren't a world of differences. I forget how many I counted in the last video, 6 or 7 different parts in the German kit. But when you get them painted up, they really, really start to look different, obviously. But I have a feeling that when we weather them, and if we weather them in the two styles that I'm thinking, it'll make them look even that much more different. So that's what's coming up on the next video, at least in this series. I'm also, you would have seen the review last week for the B17. I am working on that. I have a feeling that might get slightly delayed because now I want to order canopy masks for it. But anyways, these are the next things coming up in at least, the coming weeks. And I have many, many more model kits, seemingly an overwhelming amount that are stacking up in my closet that will be on the channel. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know which one you think is better, if you like the French version better, the German version better, or if you have any other ideas of how this could be painted up. Really anything at all. Love to see the discussion and people in the comments with ideas and stuff. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.